So before I dive into today's episode, I want to make sure that you know that the pre-order for my paperback version of the Pre-Med Playbook Guide to the Medical School Interview is now available. It releases on June 6th, 2017. And to celebrate that launch, I'm giving away $100 worth of free gifts if you pre-order it from Barnes & Noble. So what am I giving away? Well, I have a brand new, amazing mock interview platform, which is only available right now to those who pre-order the Pre-Med Playbook Guide to the Medical School Interview. This is a mock interview platform that will allow you to practice your interview skills anytime that you want and share these videos, recordings of your interviews with mentors, advisors, friends, and family. Now, I will be charging probably $47 a month for access to this platform, but you get a month for free for pre-ordering the book from Barnes & Noble, the paperback copy. You'll also get access to my video series. I think there's 13 videos in there of a video course that I did on the medical school interview. Now, that sells normally for $47 as well. So almost $100 worth of giveaways there for pre-ordering what is now, I think, a $14 book on Barnes & Noble. To get in on this action, pre-order it before June 6th and to find out more, text the word pre-order, all capital letters, PREORDER, to 44222. Again, that's pre-order, all capital letters, to 44222. You'll get a notification back immediately. Just submit your email address there, and then you'll get an email follow-up with instructions on how to buy the book and how to submit your receipt to get access to these things. So I hope you support me in this endeavor through pre-ordering this book, and I will support you by giving you access, a 1-month access to our mock interview platform and our medical school interview course. OldPreMeds, session number 73. You're a non-traditional student entering the medical field on your terms. You may have had some hiccups along the way, but now you're ready to change course and go back and serve others as a physician. This podcast is here to help answer your questions and help educate you on your non-traditional journey to becoming a physician. Welcome to the OldPreMeds podcast, a podcast dedicated to you, the non-traditional pre-med student. Now, today's question is interesting because it could be a question for everybody, traditional, non-traditional. So if you're a traditional student, welcome to the OldPreMeds podcast. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray. I'm the host of this podcast and the director of the Non-Traditional Pre-Med and Medical Student Society over at oldpremeds.org. I also host many other shows. You can find everything we do, and I do, at mededmedia.com. That's MEDED media.com. Today's question is a question about medical history affecting medical school and getting into medical school. So let's go ahead and jump right in. This is actually a common question that I get a lot. How does my past XYZ? And a lot of times the questions are framed around mental health, and this one is no different. So this question: hi there, I'm currently back in school working on completing course prereqs for medical school. I'm just wondering, is a medical history taken into account when applying to medical school, especially mental health? In 2016, undiagnosed OCD led me to develop an eating disorder for which I'm currently in recovery, as well as chronic depression. I'm wondering if these life events could affect my medical school application. Aside from my mental health history, I am working towards a strong application, knock on wood. My undergrad GPA is 3.9. My current science and math GPA is 4.0. I'm about to begin volunteering in a hospital, and I work 24 plus hours a week in an advanced stage dementia nursing home, basically as a CNA. I served as a Peace Corps volunteer and I'm nearly fluent in Spanish. All right, so the question basically comes down to what do I need to divulge on a medical school application? Now, luckily for this student, their mental health has not affected their grades. 3.9 undergrad GPA, 4.0 science GPA. It's fantastic. So ultimately, what the question comes down to, again, is what do I have to tell the medical schools? And the answer is nothing. There's nothing on the application that asks about your health. What could come up is if you've had any significant gaps in education, and you have to explain those. And you don't explain those. If you do have significant gaps in your education, you don't have to explain those by saying, oh, I have severe depression or chronic depression, I have OCD, I have an eating habit, or eating disorder. Everybody has an eating habit, an eating disorder. And so you don't need to go into those details. What you can go into detail is be very generic and say, I was dealing with some health issues that have since gotten under control. And since coming back to school, I've been fantastic. And it's shown. Obviously 3.9, undergrad GPA 4.0, science GPA. That's perfect. What you do need to keep in mind, and it doesn't sound like this is going to affect you, is when you go for your medical license, you'll be asked the question of, do you have any health issues that are going to prevent you from taking care of patients? Now, it doesn't sound like you have anything that will prevent you from taking care of patients, so not something to worry about. This will come into play if you have some sort of like brain tumor and it's affecting your cognition and your ability to think and control impulses and other things, then you're starting to deal with some questionable issues. If you have a vision problem and you're a surgeon, maybe that's a problem. If you're a surgeon and you have severe carpal tunnel and you're not being able to use your hands well anymore, that's going to be a problem, and you're going to have to disclose that, hopefully, on your applications for your medical license and your credentials at a hospital as well. So something to think about. But for this question, and for you as you're thinking about it, well, I have anxiety, I have depression, I have whatever you have, it's none of the medical school's business. And I would highly recommend that even if this has motivated you to go into medicine, be very careful about talking about those things on your application, in your personal statement, to talk about those motivations for entering medicine. It could be a big red flag. And when you have lots of applications to medical school, you have thousands of applications to medical school that medical schools are looking at, why are they going to take a chance on you when they can just put you aside and look at somebody else that's just as qualified that doesn't have any red flags? I know that sounds a little weird, and I know that may be hurtful for some of you that are struggling with some mental health issues or whatever you're dealing with, but it's just the truth. Why give them any sort of ammo to just put you aside? There was a great episode I did on the pre-mid-year session 194 where I talked to a student who was going blind and is legally blind from a condition, and he applied the first time to medical school, and his personal statement was all about his blindness and how that's motivating him to continue on. And he didn't get into medical school. And so he thought about it and he goes, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So the next time he applied, didn't mention anything about his blindness, was able to hide it to a certain extent, because if it's bright out, he was able to see well enough that he didn't need a walking stick or anything, and a cane, and he was accepted to medical school. And then the packages that came after his acceptance talked about, are you going to need accommodations? And that's where he said, oh yeah, by the way, I'm legally blind. So and it worked for him, and now he's in residency and doing very well. So something to think about on your journey as you are struggling with some mental health issues or whatever you're dealing with. We're all dealing with something. And I've talked about it. I don't know if I really talked about it on the OldPreMeds podcast, but on the pre-med years, I've talked about it. One of the reasons that I do this full time now and I don't practice medicine is I was diagnosed with MS. And having that diagnosis when I left the Air Force was one of the reasons I got out of the Air Force. It was, well, do I go and work doing orthopedic surgery, which is what I really wanted to do. I love the OR. I miss the OR. But that's 5 years of working 80 to 100 hours a week where I could potentially make my disease worse. And was that worth it to me? And for me, it wasn't. So we're all dealing with something. So I hope this discussion helped you figure out if this is something that is going to affect you. Usually it doesn't. Usually we have our own concerns and how are they going to look at me? But for the most part, it's your business. It's not the medical schools. So keep it to yourself and keep taking care of yourself on your journey. And hopefully you would do very, very well. I hope that was helpful. If you have a question for me, go to oldpremeds.org, leave a question, sign up for an account, leave a question there. Hopefully we'll get to it on this podcast. I love answering these questions. Keep them coming. I hope you have a great week. Keep pushing forward on your journey to becoming a physician.